So, uh, have you ever really stopped to think about how a medical diagnosis actually comes into being?
Hmm.
I mean, it's more than just a lab test result or what a doctor sees, isn't it? What really shapes that label.
Yeah, it's easy to, diagnosis is purely scientific, an objective finding.
Right.
But our deep dive today, looking into the sociology of diagnosis, it reveals something else. It shows it's this really powerful social tool, not just some simple medical tag.
Okay, let's unpack this then.
Hmm.
Our mission here is to try and uncover some of those hidden forces, social, cultural, maybe even political, that shape what we actually call illness and disease.
Exactly. It's about understanding how these categories get built, not just sort of discovered out there in nature.
So, at its heart, diagnoses are basically the classification tools of medicine, right?
Hmm.
They do real work, they segment things, order different states of the body. They literally create the categories we use to understand our health.
And you have to think about it like this. A diagnosis isn't just some pre-existing thing. It's also the very deliberate process a doctor uses to apply that labeling to you.
Yeah, that application process is key.
Uh,
And the social power that comes with it is huge.
oh, absolutely. Getting a diagnosis can act like, well, permission to be ill, as one sociologist put it.
Permission to be ill, I like that.
Yeah. It authorizes things like sick leave, maybe access to certain services, or it can even give someone a particular social status. It takes a private feeling, a complaint, and makes it a recognized, legitimate condition.
With real social weight.
Definitely.
What's really fascinating, though, is that this focus on specific medical terms hasn't always been the main way we understand health.
That's true. If you look back at, say, ancient Greek medicine, they often used descriptive stories, narratives,
And then-
not really systematic disease names like we have.
So when did that shift happen?
Well, a key figure was Thomas Sydenham back in the 18th century. He was really important in establishing this idea of classificatory medicine.
Oh.
But the crucial point here is that diagnoses aren't static. They aren't just found like rocks. What one era calls a distinct disease, a later time might see totally differently.
Like maybe just a symptom of something else.
Exactly. Or even just a normal human variation. It really shows how changing knowledge, new technology, even shifting social norms, they all constantly reshape our medical definitions.
And this is where it gets really interesting, I think. When social and political action directly changes these diagnostic categories.
Oh, yeah. That's a powerful dynamic.
Think about the gay rights movement. Activists fought hard and successfully to get homosexuality removed as a mental illness from the diagnostic manual, the DSM-3.
A huge shift. And that wasn't driven by some new biological discovery primarily. It was social and political pressure.
Right. And similarly, look at post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD,
Mm-hmm.
especially for Vietnam veterans.
Mm-hmm. That wasn't just automatically accepted.
No, it took what the research calls considerable individual and collective effort. They had to fight against labels like cowardice or, faking it.
To get their suffering formally recognized with a diagnosis that validated what they went through, it was a struggle.
But then you contrast that with something like Alzheimer's disease.
Right, a very different story there.
Named way back in the early 20th century. Its rise seems more linked to, professional things, scientific rivalries, the authority of big names in medicine at the time.
Less about a big patient movement initially, more about factors within the medical and scientific community itself.
Yeah. And seeing those different paths really highlights just how varied the influences shaping a diagnosis can be. It's not just one thing.
That contrast is so important. It shows all the different factors, the different engines maybe that can push a diagnosis forward.
Engines, like forces driving them.
Exactly. And it's not always purely about clinical need or discovering a biological truth. Sometimes there are other powerful engines at play.
You mean like commercial interests?
Precisely. There's this concept called disease mongering.
Disease mongering.
Yeah, it's the idea that sometimes commercial interests actively try to convince people, often essentially well people, that they're actually sick.
Wow. To expand their market, basically.
You got it. Pharmaceutical companies are one example, but also think about the fitness industry or weight loss companies. They can promote certain diagnoses to sell products or services.
So you might see an ad for some new condition that sounds a lot like, just being tired or stressed.
And suddenly you wonder, wait, am I actually sick? Do I need this pill? A really studied example is female sexual dysfunction.
Ah, I've heard about this.
Research strongly suggests its promotion was heavily tied to drug companies wanting to expand the market for drugs similar to Viagra.
Makes sense, commercial.
Or think about how defining obesity as a distinct disease also intersects with major commercial interests in treatments, diets, surgeries.
It adds another layer to understanding where these labels come from. Okay, so shifting gears slightly. When we talk about diagnosis, it seems important to separate two things.
Yes, the difference between illness and disease.
Right, so illness being.
Illness is your personal experience of being unwell. It's subjective, shaped by your culture, your life.
And disease is.
Disease is more the medical framework, the biological or psychophysiological problem, as defined by medicine. They aren't always the same thing.
That's a really crucial distinction.
And it matters because while getting a diagnosis, that disease label can be a huge relief for someone.
Yeah, it can validate your suffering, right?
Yeah,
They make
right.
you feel real and understood.
Absolutely confirms you're not imagining it. But there can be a downside.
What's that?
Sometimes that official medical narrative, the disease story, can feel, well, kind of alien to the person's actual lived experience, their illness.
Like it doesn't quite fit.
Exactly. It might not capture the personal meaning, the social impact. It can even feel like it denies a part of their identity, who they are. The neat scientific box doesn't always hold the whole human story.
So wrapping this up, it's clear that diagnosis is, well, it's far from just a neutral scientific act.
Definitely not. It's really, as Jutel puts it, these concepts which bind the biological, the technological, the social, the political, and the lived, all woven together.
That's a great way to put it.
Which I think raises a really important question for you, the listener, to think about.
Okay.
The next time you come across a medical label, maybe for yourself or someone else, pause and consider, what invisible forces, beyond just the biology, might have helped shape that specific category? How might what historian Thomas Lacour called believing become seeing be at play? The idea that our frameworks, our assumptions, actually influence what we even perceive as a medical fact.
So what does this all mean for you listening?
Yeah.
I guess it's about realizing that our understanding of health, of illness, it's constantly being shaped.
By this really complex dance between science, culture, economics, politics.
Yeah.
Power.
Yeah, it's about maybe seeing the threads that connect your own personal experiences of health or lack of it to these much bigger societal forces that are always churning away.